All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating study about how language is shaping the future of one of the world's biggest tourism hotspots, Thailand. And believe me, it's a story about economics, culture, and, the huge importance of just a simple conversation. So first, let's just talk about this scale we're dealing with. In 2018 alone, Thailand's tourism sector brought in an absolutely staggering $85 billion. That came from over 41 million visitors. To put that into perspective, that's a massive 12% of the country's entire economy. Okay, so with that much money and that many people on the line, what's the biggest risk? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking. It's a challenge that happens millions of times, every single day, in hotels, restaurants, and tour buses all across the country. And that risk, the one playing out millions of times a day, it's a growing language gap. So let's break down how this simple breakdown in communication is actually a massive threat to such an economic powerhouse. And here's where you can really see the scale of the problem. Get this, a shocking 63% of hotels, that's nearly 2 out of every 3, have zero front desk staff who can speak English. Just think about that for a second. For a country that depends so much on international tourism, the very first point of contact for most visitors is often, well, a communication dead end. And we're not just talking about a minor inconvenience here. This leads to some very real, very serious problems. The research points to things like frustrating check-in experiences that just start a vacation on a sour note, and even dangerous mix-ups with food allergies. I mean, these are exactly the kinds of issues that lead to terrible reviews online and can really damage a country's reputation. So what you end up with is this fundamental mismatch. On one side, you've got tourists arriving from all over the world speaking a whole range of languages. But on the other side, you've got a hospitality workforce that is, understandably, primarily Thai-speaking. The result is just this critical communication gap right in the middle. Now, you might be thinking, well, the obvious solution is just more English training, right? But the situation, as this study shows, is actually way more complicated than that. And this brings us to what we can call the English paradox. And make no mistake, Thailand has invested heavily in English education. The government is pushing to get foreign English teachers into every single school. English summer camps are super popular, and it's a major priority across the whole school system. They absolutely recognize the economic importance of English. And yet, for all that effort and all that investment, something seems to break down when it gets to the front lines. The level of English proficiency that you need for the fast-paced, high-pressure tourism industry, it just isn't filtering through to the majority of the workforce. And if you want to see just how deep this challenge goes, listen to this. The research found that 50% of frontline staff couldn't tell the difference between there and there, no matter how clearly you said it. The problem isn't about complex vocabulary. It's a gap in just basic, fundamental conversational understanding. So if English isn't the whole answer, what is? Well, the future isn't about replacing it, but about creating a really smart, strategic mix of languages to meet a changing world. Let's take a look at the predictions for 2035. Okay, first up, Mandarin. This is projected to be the single most critical foreign language for Thai tourism. And the reason for that is simple and powerful. A massive and still growing number of tourists arriving from China. Then you've got Spanish. It's just rocketing in global popularity, adding something like 25 million new learners every year. That incredible growth is expected to bring up to 2 million Spanish-speaking tourists to Thailand every year by 2035. Hindi is also on the rise, and this is fueled by the incredible growth of India's economy. With India's middle class set to hit 475 million people by 2030, a huge new wave of travelers is on the horizon, and that makes this an absolutely essential market to cater to. And we can't forget Russian. While some other European markets might be slowing down, tourists from Russian-speaking countries are a high-value market. What that means is they tend to spend more and stay longer, and their numbers are projected to go up by 14%. So here's a snapshot of that future language portfolio. You can see how each one is driven by totally different global trends. Demographics, economics, cultural shifts. It's a much more complex and diverse picture than just saying, hey, everybody learn more English. So what does all this mean for the future? How does an entire industry get ready for this kind of shift? Well, it means moving beyond a single language solution and building a strategy that's truly future-proof. Now, to be really clear, the solution isn't to just abandon English. Not at all. It's still a vital bridge language. The goal is to add to it, to build a multilingual workforce that's ready for a much more diverse world of travelers. And this is where technology becomes a really powerful ally. Instead of just relying on old school classrooms, staff can use tools that are super accessible. They can practice pronunciation right on their phones, watch video lessons, and jump into online forums. It just makes learning these critical languages way more flexible and, frankly, achievable. So let's just quickly recap what we've learned here. Tourism is the absolute lifeblood of Thailand's economy, but it's being threatened by a pretty significant language gap. We've seen that relying on English alone is not the silver bullet, and that the future really demands a strategic, multilingual approach. It just goes to show that success in today's global market isn't just about having beautiful beaches. It's about smart communication. It really leaves us with a fascinating strategic challenge, doesn't it? If you were the one in charge and you had limited time and resources, where would you place your bet? Would you go for the sheer volume of Mandarin speakers or maybe the high-value Russian market? There's really no single right answer. And finally, this whole thing brings up a bigger question for all of us, no matter where we live. What are the emerging languages that are shaping the visitor experience in our own backyards? What communication gaps exist right where you are, and what opportunities are we all missing? It's definitely something to think about.